Theseus is one of the few films that you feel is a literary piece. It's not just a plot, it's not just characters who are sort of driven by some sort of external narrative force, but it's also deeply embedded in lots of concepts and thoughts, and it makes the film incredibly unique.
Inferences of philosophical inquiry or philosophical inquiry itself is never beyond the scope of any community or any group of people, I think. And the film also engages in a certain kind of inquiry that is of a fundamental nature, that is engaging with questions of a fundamental nature, and that inquiry is an invitation for everyone to participate in. The ideas built over a long period of time. There have been some ideas that have intrigued me at the age of 6 or 13 that have found their way into the film as well. So the questions built over a long period of time. The questions became more informed over a long period of time. And when the first couple of plot ideas occurred to me, the first plot idea that occurred to me was kind of the thread, the central thread of the film. And then I reverse engineered the stories from there. So when I started discussing the stories with two of my closest friends, Pankaj Kumar, my cinematographer, and Khushbu Ranka, who collaborates with me in material that I write, we started thinking of what are the stories of these individuals, and Pankaj was the one who was quite intrigued by the idea of a blind photographer. He had come across the work of Eugen Bouchard, the Swedish blind photographer, and he was really intrigued by his process, and he thought it'll be fabulous if we create a piece of fiction around a blind photographer. The other two stories came from a deep internal process, from a process that had taken a long period of time. The monk story, for example, whether or not he would take that medication and contribute to the very economy he's been fighting against, or stay on his deathbed and eventually die for his ideologies and principles. And these are questions that I've dealt with at various stages in my life. The ethical dilemma in the stockbroker story is again a dilemma that I've put myself in and then try to see what I would do.
It shows because this film actually, when you watch it, is so rich with dialogue that is not just has allusions and metaphors in it, but is just witty. It's so true to life. It's so perfectly true to character. So I think it's a really a work of great writing. And the other thing I think that really recommends this film is the sort of the visual experience that you get when you watch a film like Theseus. And a lot of people have said, Anand, that they haven't seen Bombay shot like that. Blind photographer's story, the city is so immediate, is so sort of all around you, it feels so all encompassing. Whereas in the monk story, that very same city, expands and suddenly it's sort of reflective of so many greater things than just being the city. And then in the third story, there's a sort of rootlessness, I feel, almost like a character who hasn't quite found his purpose,
One of the choices that we made was to shoot the 3 stories in 3 separate seasons. So the photographer's story has been shot in Mumbai winter, when it gets really cold, 27 degrees Celsius, and the second story, the monk story, was shot in the monsoons, in the rains, and the third story was shot in the summer. So we got 3 separate kinds of light, because we didn't want to make very obvious changes between the 3 stories. We didn't want to change the tint or have very clear distinctions.